Turn the camera on. Hello. There you go. Thank you very much for joining us this week, Oriole fans, Raven fans. Thank you for joining us. I'm gonna button my shirt here. Okay. Thank you for joining us for the Ravery Sports Podcast. But like and subscribe to all of our social media content. We are here every Wednesday. We're coming at you a little bit later. Give you a chance to watch the Oriole game here tonight as I am watching. Been following all night long. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content. That includes our Facebook page, our Twitter page, X, keep saying Twitter, LinkedIn page, Instagram. Definitely check us out there. We have a TikTok page. Definitely check us out there. But if you want to watch us live every Wednesday, we're here on our YouTube page and Twitter and on Twitch. So keep that in mind as well. Genesis Notary Services.facebook.com. Genesis Notary Services. Been a little busy this week too with the notary business. So had a lot to do. So thank all of you in the Shenandoah Valley who have called. I've had calls from other places now, signing services. Thank you very much. Definitely you can Google it. That's how a lot of people are finding me now. Definitely go to Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com, or you go to Google Genesis Notary Services, Winchester, Virginia. Then you can find me there. So thank all of you, honestly, for that. I really, really appreciate that this week. C. Charles Harris, Legal Shield. We are LegalShield.com. Definitely check that out. Also, too, couple more inquiries about that this week. I appreciate that. All of you out there, especially you business owners, get the value from the Legal Shield. I can't tell you enough. You will not regret it. Once you actually, if you are in a situation where you are getting sued, or you have clients that aren't paying, or if you just need legal protection, or you're getting threatened, or you have a tax issue or anything like that, definitely Legal Shield is the route you can go to save a lot of money on your legal expenses. Absolutely. Check this out here. All right. Orioles, definitely here. We have jerseys like this. This is for a young person here. This is a bit of a small, but definitely an Orioles sweatshirt. Definitely you can go back to school with something like this. This is exclusively now, not on the website as much, but you can email me at Harris. I'm not Harris. At raverysports.gmail.site. I'm sorry, Ravery Sports at gmail.com. Ravery Sports.company.site. This is now on the website. So we're freshening up a lot of this stuff. Recognize this, don't you? They're wearing these now. The cartoon bird, old school. Right now, I'm wearing a Ravens hat as well. You can get those as well, all on the website. So definitely you can check that out. RaverySports.company.site. You can get all of that information on there as well. We're going to continue our baseball summer. Definitely one other thing, our up for debate is on the website now. Is on there. I'm thinking about putting it on even our blogs page, which I haven't used much, but we're definitely going to put it on there. It's on YouTube. Definitely discussing the state of sports media. We'll upload that on Monday around 12. For those of you that didn't know, that's definitely on there. So definitely check that out. Good discussion about the state of media and gatekeeping and all that other stuff. Kind of woven into this week of WNBA and Monica Burnett, Stephen A. Smith, and that discussion that they had. That kind of was almost a precursor to that. Stuff like that about gatekeeping. Now, let's get down to the business of football. Still old school. One more week here. With that, we're going to talk about OTAs. We're going to unveil this week our first of our list, our top 10 list going into the next NFL season. Now we're in June, top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Talk a little bit about the NBA Finals tonight as well. So we will go over all that tonight. But let's start with the top 20 Baltimore Ravens of all time. Okay? So before we kind of did last year, in the even last few weeks, we kind of did a top 5 list like that of all positions. So now doesn't matter what the position is, doesn't matter where they played, when they played, whatever. In the history of the Baltimore Ravens since 96, who are the top 20 of all time ever of the list. So I expect a lot of discourse. Obviously, when you have a list like this, but I'm pretty confident in that nobody's ever going to disagree on social media because whoever does that, right? So let's go ahead and go over the top 20 of Ravens of all time. Um, Top number 20, Big Sam Adams. I think like this was when you look at the Ravens in the 2000 season, which I think is probably the best season in Ravens history. The obviously the season they won the Super Bowl. Definitely, when you look at the success of the Ravens, an underrated guy was Sam Adams. Sam Adams coming over as a free agent, big clogging guy to clog the middle. Like there were certain guys, especially of that era, where you really wanted to stop the run. And Sam Adams was a free agent that the Ravens were able to get. He made such a difference for that, especially for a young guy named Ray Lewis, who was there along with this guy, RIP, the late Tony Saragusa. I don't know of a more fun guy he had than Saragusa, the Goose, as well. You know, my old girlfriends never got his name right, like Goosenberg and Goose and all, but they knew because we knew the Goose. On the field, despite the fact that he was acting on The Sopranos, despite the fact that he was on Fox Sports, despite the fact that he was really one of the real characters of the game, he was an outstanding D tackle. He really was. Definitely running on Sam Adams and Tony Saragusa, especially in the 2000 season, it just didn't happen, right? You just weren't gonna. You just weren't gonna. It just wasn't gonna. You just scratched that out. That's probably the best run defense. I think one of them, if not the best one in the history of the NFL, could not run the ball. No such thing as running the ball on Sam Adams and Saragusa. He's not higher. They're not higher because they had a relatively short tenure, despite the dominant nature. I think Saragusa, I think he had like 3 or 4 years. I think Adams like not even. So that's why they're higher. But I tell you what, you can't not rewrite the history of the Ravens. I definitely have them in the top 20. 19, Jimmy Smith, number 18. Jimmy Smith, I think, is probably one of the greatest talents in the history of Ravens. I actually didn't love the pick when we picked it, but he was a top cornerback out of Colorado, had some issues off the field, which is why he got drafted so low. I got nothing but respect for Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was as good as he wanted to be a lot of times. I think had it not been for the health issues, we'd absolutely be talking about a guy who made the Hall of Fame. We'd absolutely be talking about a guy. I definitely think he's one of the top Ravens of all time. And I think he was very pivotal in the pre-Marlon Humphrey era of the Ravens, as far as that goes. Now, like you see a lot of good corners that the Ravens have. Not so much when Jimmy Smith was playing, really when he was in his prime. They really needed a good projection out of Jimmy Smith. So really good corner physical as well. So I have Jimmy Smith at 18. Michael McCrary. To this day, man, when I see a guy, when they talk about motor and moving, like on the end, when they talk about motor, Michael McCrary is the name. He never stopped moving. Michael McCrary's energy on the field was incredible. You know, a lot of people forget when they signed Michael McCrary, a lot of fans thought, I don't know fans, but a lot of media thought, man, maybe you're overpaying for this guy. Like, he had one really first 3 years in the league, kind of pedestrian. The last year before his free agent year, he was really good, had a lot of sacks. Wasn't a ton of interest in him. And the Ravens go ahead and sign him to a lot of money. And boy, they feel like it's a bargain. McCrary was unblockable. What they didn't have in the years before he got there was that boom pass rush they had. They had Peter Boulware, but on the line, you had Adams, Saragusa, and you had McCrary on the end as the rusher. He's almost overshadowed how good the great run defense is, but he was the great pass rush. He was terrific in the years he was a Raven. Speaking of pass rush, Peter Boulware. Again, man, I kind of put him in the category of Smith. His injury kind of is going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, but Peter Boulware. Some guys too, like it's always guys too. I always like guys in any sport when they step in and they're so powerful and they're so good on their from the get-go. And that's what Peter Boulware was. Peter Boulware, I think, was an outstanding outstanding outside linebacker as well. They basically had a 3-4 defense. Brian Billick changed it probably after. I remember the Ravens had a 4-3 defense when they won the Super Bowl in 2000. And then when they had their roster purge in 01, they changed it from a 3-4, from a 4-3 to a 3-4. And I think the biggest reason was Peter Boulware. Because Peter Boulware, what he was able to accomplish, his speed, his power on the outside, he was the answer basically that Billick gave was, I want some of my best guys on the field doing his strengths. So we were kind of building around Peter Boulware and Ray Lewis at that time. He was outstanding, Peter Boulware. This is the best receiver yards in Ravens history. Like, some people don't realize that, but D Mace, I thought this was a guy. This is a typical Raven free agent signing. Here's a guy played a lot of years in Tennessee, played against the Ravens because one kind of was a rival, kind of what we're seeing this year with Patrick Queen. But he turned out to be one of the best Ravens receiver all time as far as yardage. Not a lot of receivers on this list, but I'm gonna put Mace there. I thought like the years he was there, really consistent. Even though I think he was a little bit past his prime, but he was a chain mover, outstanding. So Mace 15. I'm gonna put Ray Rice here. If you've been watching this, you know I don't like him. Seriously, I don't. I find it disgusting what this guy did. However, he's on the list. To be fair, he is the second best running back of all time in Ravens history. I don't think it's close. I don't think there's any question about it. I think if you look at from just the player, I think Ray Rice deserves to be here. But I kind of debated leaving him out, but I'm not going to leave him out. I mean, on the field, top 20. I mean, I think there's no question about it. Chris McAllister, number 13. I think this is the top cornerback, one of the top cornerbacks I think we ever had. I think McAllister, was terrific. His whole career, a bit underrated. I think the secondary was a bit underrated. Kind of like, again, it's kind of unlike the modern NFL. You talk about those Ravens teams around the 2000. You talk about the inside. You talk about Saragusa and Adams, Ray Lewis, James, like guys like that. Rod Wilson on the inside. They had good corner play. McAllister was one of the best corners in the league at the time. Definitely, I think he's the best cornerback still that I think we've had. I think he makes the list here as well. Here's a current Raven, Mark Andrews. I think it's only a matter of time before he takes the number one spot as far as the greatest tight end in Ravens history. I don't think there's any question about it. You look at the combination of him and Lamar Jackson, what he's been able to accomplish. He's an excellent receiver tight end. I don't think there's any question about it. Hands, power. He's not just a receiver, too. I mean, he's a blocker as well. Blocks big time. I think he really got slept on as a prospect. I really think outstanding stuff from Mark Andrews. I think it's only a matter of time. If he's able to stay healthy, he was injured last year, but I think definitely he can take over as the number one receiver of all time. Not quite yet ahead of Todd Heap, who has the most receiving yards of any tight end in Ravens history. Huge. Heap, that's what they used to yell. Excuse me. In Camden Yards downtown, whenever Heap caught the football, Heap I thought was very, 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 very solid as a receiver. I think he could stretch the field as well. He was really, really quick. As he got older too, he became more savvy as well. Had a lot of his brains. Good long career for Todd Heap. I think what's probably not kept him out of the Hall of Fame, honestly, is the lack of quarterback play that we had then. You know, we had Anthony Wright, Kyle Bowler, etc. I think he had better quarterback play. I think definitely his numbers could have been higher. I did the video a couple weeks ago. I think this is the greatest kicker in NFL history. Justin Tucker, highest percentage, over 90%. Only kicker in NFL history over 90%. How could you put a kicker this high? Because it's Justin Tucker. Longest field goal of all time in NFL history. I don't think there's a such thing. I mean, Tucker is on another planet. You wouldn't put a kicker on this list. I don't think anybody's going to argue that Tuck should be there. He's phenomenal. Phenomenal. What a weapon it is that you have. You know, a lot of teams struggle with kicking in the league. We never really have. Stover didn't make the list, but Stover for him was really good as well. So outstanding from Justin Tucker. I think I absolutely have Tucker in the top 10. I think he's the greatest kicker of all time on any team. Marshall Yanda, number 9. He should go to the Hall of Fame. You never know with guards sometimes. RIP, speaking of guards, to the late Ray Allen. We just talked about Ray Allen as far as the greatest, I think, greatest guard in NFL history. Shout out to Marshall Yanda, who I think should go to the Hall of Fame for years. Yanda was good at tackle as well. Played tackle for a year when they didn't have anybody as well. Kicked him back in the guard. Yanda, I mean, he would just you don't see 5 yards down the field. He's just shoving. Like God, Yanda was super dominant as a right guard. I think Yanda definitely is in the top 10. Let's go back here. Number 8, Jamal Lewis, best rusher in the NFL in the Ravens history. I think most rushing yards in Ravens history. I'm still perplexed about why Jerome Bettis gets so much more love than him. I don't really see a difference between him and Jerome Bettis as far as that goes. You look at the yards, Bettis had a few more yards than him, but not a lot. I mean, I don't know why we can't put Jamal in the Hall of Fame. I really don't. I think Jamal, big, fast as well. So fast. Only flaw he ever had in this game, he did fumble a lot. I think he got away with a lot of fumble. He didn't it was weird. Like he would fumble, but he would always get the ball back, or not a lot of fumbles for loss, but more than what you'd like to see. But man, he was such a tremendous back. He was such a tremendous back in his prime. Now, going the right way now. Joe Flacco. I think Flacco, I think I'm not sure if he gets in the Hall of Fame. Here's the thing, he's still playing. I think he has a couple more years like he did. I think he's back in that conversation. He's playing with the Colts this year. So I think, but I don't think there's such a player. He might be one of the most beloved in Ravens history. I don't think anybody, people love Joe Flacco, and they should. All business, went to work, has a phenomenal deep ball. Phenomenal. I mean, he could throw it as well as anybody in the league. Even now, I mean, tremendous deep ball. He actually was struggling more with the intermediate stuff. You could actually take that away. But you're not taking away the deep ball from Joe Flacco. I think he was phenomenal. Haloti Ngata. Is he getting in the Hall of Fame? I think Ngata, even with Sam Adams and Siragusa, this guy was unblockable in his prime. I definitely think on any other defense except for the ones he was on here, some of the great defensive players he had, Ray Lewis and all that, etc. I think Haloti Ngata is phenomenal. I think he should. He's another one. I like Yanda. I'm not sure he's going to get in the Hall of Fame, but I definitely think he should get all the consideration considering he was. I'm surprised I don't think he actually won Defensive Player of the Year, but he should have. Here's a guy who definitely did. Sizzo, get the ball. Sizzo, get the ball. Terrell Suggs. I think Suggs, was the man-child here of Black. It's funny. He dropped in the draft because he had a slow 40 time, or else he probably never would have became a Raven. Like Eric DeCosta was ecstatic that he ran a slow 40 time because that dropped him. Like everybody had him in the top 5 when he got drafted. I think it was 04. And I think it was 04, 03. He got drafted. And because of that, I think he slipped. Something weird happened in the draft league. Minnesota missed the pick. Ravens were able to jump on it. It was fantastic. Fantastic career. Suggs, I think, was the best pass rusher in the Ravens history. No question about it. For sure, he's getting in the Hall of Fame. It's not already there, but outstanding. Ed Reed. Talked about him last week with defense. I think he's the second best safety, I think, in NFL history. I think Reed is the best ball hawk there ever was in football. I don't think anybody had a nose for the football and had a better way of getting to the football than Ed Reed. Not only did he take the ball away, he took it the other way and scored as good as anybody I ever saw. Not just even as a young player, as an older one, he studied film incessantly, despite all of his physical ability. That was incredible. Leader of the team, he was the Robin, the leader on the team, the former defensive player of the year. I think every number 4, number 3. Some maybe didn't think he'd be this high, but I think like when you win the MVP 2 consecutive times, or 2 different times, I definitely think Lamar is right there. I think he's certainly probably the second biggest star we've ever had with the Ravens. Certainly the modern day star of the team. Lamar, 2 MVPs speak for themselves. I think he was the only thing that's missing for him is playoff success. Can he get it done and go into that high spot higher than this with playoff success? He's won a couple games, went to the AFC Championship last year. Can he take the team all the way through? That's the standard that's been set by some of these great players. Number 2, John Ogden. I think is goated, outstanding. I had him number 2 all time as offensive tackles that ever played. Jonathan Ogden was a man all by himself, no question about it. It's funny he ever played guard. A lot of people forgot that his first year, Tony Jones, when they drafted him over from Cleveland, Tony Jones was sitting one of the top tackles in the league, so they had to move Ogden at guard, and he was dominant there. So he actually did play a year at guard, but Ogden was beyond what was just ridiculous. No help he ever needed, ever. There was no such thing as helping Jonathan Ogden. And who else but the great Ray Lewis statue in front of the stadium? Man, he would just destroy people on the field. All there is to it. It was so to watch automatic 13, 14, 15 tackles automatically if he had a game where it was 4 or 5 tackles, that almost never happened. He almost automatically, most of his career, 13, 14, 15 tackles in a game. Not only tackles, but tackles. We even judge the tackles, even with that amount, like were they close to the line of scrimmage or far from the line of scrimmage, sideline to sideline. Ultimate linebacker, ultimate leader compared to Ray Lewis. I think the greatest Raven of all time. There you go. No surprise, right? Number 1, the man's got a statue in front of the stadium. I think it's some suggestion. I think Lamar is pretty high. Mark Andrews is pretty high, and you got Tucker. I think is right there as well. And it's going to evolve over time. Obviously, there are the guys that are going to come up and emerge, but I think right now those are the top 20 Ravens going into the 2024 season for the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, now OTAs. Let's talk a little bit about Ravens OTAs that were this week as well. So last couple of weeks, the Ravens OTAs, that's organized team activity. Just to break that down fully with that. Big news, Lamar Jackson did miss some of the OTAs last week and has returned. He lost a $750,000 roster bonus. Wow, that's more than that. That's probably more than a lot of his teammates are getting paid or have gotten paid, even, especially a lot of the young guys in the whole career. Not worried about that. I don't care. I think there's some people trying to make a big deal out of it or whatever. John Harbaugh didn't seem concerned about it. I'm not concerned about it, simply because I think Lamar Jackson works extremely hard. He's been. It's not like we got a lot of new receivers or a new offense that he has to learn. I think that would be something like last year. I kind of would have been, but he's been throwing to Rashad Bateman. He's been throwing to Zay Flowers. He's been throwing to Nelson Aguilar. So the fact that I don't know what he was doing, where he's given. I would have gave him $750,000, but I'm not a multi-millionaire like Lamar. So. Whatever it was, I mean, he felt like he didn't need 750,000, but that's more of a thing. That's what blows my mind than anything. But, worried about it in the state of the football team? Not at all. Not a big deal. Lamar matchup with TJ Tampa Jr. was one of the most exciting parts of the 11-on-11 period. TJ Tampa, along with Devontae Walker as well. So good to see the rookies battle it out there. Two similar skill sets. I think both of them are going to develop. Interesting to see what type of roles they get. I mean, as far as their future goes as well. But good to see rookies and things battling it out. Couple names here as well. Trey Swelling was a name that I saw a lot on there. Sassy Kane, they thought late round draft pick, and Travis Robinson performed well. So possible openings for those guys we will see as well. But it's good to perform well here in OT. It's still early to go ahead and tell, but it's very important for these guys to perform well now. You gotta when you're at this part of the roster where these guys are, your life's on the line every day. You gotta play well every practice, every snap of every practice. Everything is important. So to perform well and to impress coaches as well is good. So outstanding. Good for those guys. Not a lot to me you take out of OTA. That's why I'm not as, who's on the field, who's not on the field as well. That's, again, Lamar missing a week. I mean, I'm not that worried about that. But mostly what you're looking at is, for me, how those young guys look at with vets. Guys like Swelling and Kane and those guys who haven't played, are they ready? Are they looking at vets? And how are new players integrated? You don't have a whole lot on offense, but definitely a Derrick Henry, even him. How does he look now with a new offense? How can you get him going? Those are the things definitely we are looking for here. All right. The first that will take us all the way to the season. So we're going to go over the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. So who are the top 10? Sure, there'll be some arguments as well. I will say this was harder this year than it was last year. I think last year when I made the list, the top 8 were pretty obvious. I think the last 2, you kind of had to decide. It's kind of obvious in Sucker, but this is not. I thought there's a bit of a shift happening. Some of the names are not as well. Some of the names are like that. Bit of a shift. I think who is in the top 10, I think happens here. I'm still going to put Aaron Rodgers at 10. I think there is some concern, obviously, with the injury. I think the injury was kind of fluky, honestly, and I think you are concerned about his age, obviously. But I'll take Aaron Rodgers over most of these guys still. I think they've done everything in New York to actually make it work. I think there's going to be some pressure on him, but I mean, I think you kind of get an incomplete. Age is a concern with Aaron at this point. But definitely, you look at it now. Interesting to see how he does. I'll leave him in the top 10. I'll go ahead and put him at the end of the top 10 as well. Here, number 9, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, I think has been vastly underrated. Look, the Niners. Every time the Niners win, it seems like Kyle Shanahan gets all the credit. Brock Purdy was terrific last year. I thought, had it not been for the last game where he got played by Lamar Jackson, he could have been the MVP of the league. He was that good. I don't see this game manager, so I think people are saying it only because he's the 7th round as well. Hits his receivers in stride. Definitely fit. Now, he's in a good offense. That West Coast offense kind of makes everybody look good. He's got a lot of talent around him. But I think he's I think he's the real deal. I definitely like Brock Purdy. I have him at number 9 over a lot of guys. Dropping Hurts a little bit this year. He just didn't throw balls well last year. He just didn't. He still runs the ball well. I mean, he's still going to do what he does. I think he's kind of like Lamar in a sense. Like, if he is having an off, he's just going to run more. If our team's taking it away from him, he's just going to run more. I think it's a lot. Look, though. He does have weapons around you now, man. you got Saquon Barkley there. You got they did go out and re-up your receivers. They did lose Jason Kelsey, but Hurts, I'm still taking him in the top 10. Not quite as good last year. I thought they struggled kind of down the stretch. I think that's a thing, but I love Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts, is top shelf as well. Didn't pass the ball as well. Bit of a concern, though, considering how much talent they actually have. But good job getting Jalen Hurts. I have him at 8. Trevor Lawrence. Interesting. I know a lot of people, a lot of fans are going to have him out of the top 10. I think that's overstating it a bit. Lawrence, I think, does all the hard stuff well. it doesn't. It's almost as if he's not fundamentally sound, or he's spastic. He doesn't always like he doesn't have energy or something is there because like he'll throw these beautiful long passes, double coverage, beat the blitz, whatever, and you look at it, it's like oh wow, and then like he'll miss the flat or miss something easy, or just yeah, you wonder his mind isn't always in the right place. But talent wise, I think throwing a football, I think maybe he's the best in the league as far as just throwing the ball, putting like a good-looking catchable ball, throwing the ball. I love Trevor Lawrence in that sense, I think. But can he be more consistent? He might have been usurped in the division by this guy, C.J. Stroud. How good? I mean, this guy was fantastic for them last year. One thing that impressed me so much about him, the poise he showed. He was so relaxed. That's what makes him so much fun to watch. Didn't look like a rookie. Going in a second year, it's gonna be exciting to see how much better he does. I think he's the best quarterback in that division. I think they did get him some weapons as well. Stephon Diggs is going to be joining him. He's going to get his back healthy the whole year. I think the sky's the limit for C.J. Stroud as well. So yeah, I have him at 6. Justin Herbert, number 5. Getting Jim Harbaugh is going to help a lot. The coaching for him isn't great. Now, they did send away his receivers, which I think hurts. We're going to talk about that in a second with the next guy. But I think in this case, this is more by design. They're going to run more, right? They got a back to go with it. They did go ahead and get Gus Edwards. They did go ahead and get J.K. Dobbins for him. The strategy is have him throw less, have more available for him when he is throwing. That's certainly the case with Justin Herbert. I would say this, that I can't get out of my mind with Herbert if it is a criticism. Part of it is, and nobody's mentioned this, he kind of moves slow. When I watched him play the Ravens last year, it was a big difference between watching him run an offense and watching Lamar run an offense. Big difference. He moves slow. He's got to speed it up a little bit. He's going to be able to run more, but it's interesting to see how he does. Joe Burrow, number 4. The injury concerns, I think, are real. He's kind of missed large parts now, 2 seasons for a young guy. But obvious statement, he's the only one that's really been able to beat Pat Mahomes. So I think there's a lot to like with Joe Burrow. Again, with the injuries, I think you got to maybe put him a little bit less, but I think he's definitely an MVP candidate as well. A little surprising how well the Bengals did without him. That was kind of a thing. Still has his receivers, though. I don't really see a big drop-off with Burrow. I think as long as he's healthy, I think he should be healthy. Josh Allen, number 3. Been able to stay healthy. I thought he was good last year. I think there's a lot to like with Josh Allen. I think he runs the ball well. I think he's a good leader, too. I could kind of see that. I kind of see that where they believe when they see him. If you ever saw that line in Any Given Sunday, when they look in your eyes, they got to believe. You got to believe with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen has that great look in his eyes. I really think he's a guy that really players like. I think teams players like. Here's the thing with Allen, if you got to pick, and I really like Allen, but a lot of his success he had was with Stephon Diggs. I think this is a bigger thing here with him than Herbert because I don't know how much firepower they had. He had, believe it or not, it was a big difference with Stephon Diggs. Now Diggs is gone. Interesting to see what we're getting with Josh Allen this year. Team may not be as good either. Lamar, number 2. I think every list is going to have number 2 with Lamar, the reigning MVP in the NFL, 2 last year. I thought Lamar passing last year was fantastic. That was the best I've ever seen him do as far as throwing the football. I thought he looked throwing the ball downfield, throwing the ball in the pocket, throwing the ball throwing the ball outside the numbers, throwing the ball. I thought he was really, really good. He does not, I will say, the only negative with Lamar, the rainbow, he just does, it's just not him. Like, he has to throw it on a line if he's going to throw it deep. And I think that's what's happening in the playoff. Teams are making him throw downfield. And I think that is a little bit of an issue considering the Ravens don't have great receivers. But, I mean, Lamar's terrific. Lamar, he's losing weight to get faster. Like, he's the fastest quarterback in the league. So it's unbelievable. And no surprise, Mahomes, I think he's top 5 of all time. I think, like, let me tell you something, guys. The rest of you guys on this list, the other 9, and the ones before that, you better figure out a way to beat this guy because he's just going to destroy you. Better figure out a way to beat guy. No reason to go too long on Mahomes. You better figure out a way to beat him. I think Mahomes, I think there's nothing he doesn't do well on the field. There's nothing he doesn't do well on the field. The only thing with him, maybe the schoolyard stuff kind of, but I don't even think that anymore. Like some of the schoolyard stuff can be a bit draining, but yeah, he's terrific. There's no question about it. So Mahomes, number 1 quarterback in the league. No surprise. Obviously. He's number 1. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little NBA. Ooh. Really? There we go. Get to that slide. See what I've been working on there. All right, so let's talk about the NBA. Mavs 50 and 32, won 50 games, just barely getting to the NBA Finals, going against the Boston Celtics, best record in the NBA. Game 1 is tomorrow night, Thursday night, in TD Garden. And the Celts are going ahead and becoming the home seed as well, so they're going to get the first home game. What's going on? Who are we going to see? Needs no introduction. Luka Doncic. I think Doncic was the best player in the league this season. I don't know if he's the better than Giannis every season or better than Nikola Jokic every season. He certainly was better this year. No question about it. I think Doncic, look at those stats. 28 points a game, 9 rebounds, 8.8 rebounds in a game. That's just, what is that? Like, that is just unbelievable stuff here as far as that goes. Does everything well, gets what he wants to get. The only thing, maybe he's not above the rim, but he's just on another planet there. Kyrie Irving. This is the perfect role for Kyrie Irving. Shout out to Kyrie. Getting everything squared away now. Kyrie, look, kind of like in the sense what I had with him of Dennis Rodman. Look, just the comparison is you don't need to be saying the world is flat. You just need to play. That's all you have to do. So he goes out there and play, and he is fantastic. I don't think there is anything wrong with Kyrie and the way he has played as well. Kyrie has been terrific for them. And look, you need a second guy to go ahead and help you. So definitely with that as well. So you got to go ahead and have that. Third guy on their team is PJ Washington. Not quite as good as far as in the playoffs, but he's more of a role player. Definitely a guy that's going to go ahead and help out on your team. But as much as he is, I think he's a decent enough player. I think honestly, you probably want a third player better than him, but I think he is their third player. You're seeing a lot of Derek Lively on you. Go ahead, go up and down, score. Daniel Gafford as well has had some good games for them. So they have some players there, but I think these are your two best here when you talk about the Mavs as well. Now, Celtics, Jason Tatum. Conversation, is he in the best player of the league discussion? I think he's a slight notch below. I think he's a slight notch below of that discussion, but I love Jason Tatum. I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy with a level head. Sometimes, like, you can have an Anthony Edwards with the trash talk and all that other stuff, but there's nothing wrong with a guy who's just level-headed, gets the job done, is quiet. I mean, there's nothing I like about Jason Tatum. I'm almost positive he's going to win MVP during the course of this year, during the course of his career. There's no question about it. I think I think he's too good of a scorer not to never win MVP. Jaylen Brown, I think a lot of people, I don't hear those people now clamoring for a trade with Jaylen Brown, right? A couple years ago, well, they need to break these guys up. This isn't working. Best record in the league, and I think this is probably this is the best Robin in the NBA. I think he'd be the number one player on a lot of teams. They did the right thing by keeping him and paying him because this is working. They are absolutely dominant as well. They have great symmetry as well. I think both of these guys are. Robin is almost too strong. Like when you look at Dallas, rather, there's clear Batman and there's a clear Robin. This is more Robin and Nightwing. Like there's a little bit of a power sharing. I think that is fine. Kristaps Porzingis, we think we're going to have him in the finals as well. Celtics have a lot of good players. Derek White is there. Al Horford, I think, has been really good for them down the stretch. So they have a lot of good players. Definitely, but Porzingis, I think, is the big advantage. If they could get him to score here as well, I think that is definitely the advantage that they have. This is also too what the Mavs don't have. They don't really have a lot of size. They don't really have guys like that. Where they had problems where they were able to beat Minnesota, they have wings, but some nights they got some inside scoring. They can get consistent scoring, and I think the Celtics are going to get consistent scoring with Kristaps Porzingis, who should play, and Al Horford inside. I like the Celtics in this series. I think they actually go ahead and win the NBA title. I think there's a lot to like here in Boston going forward. Still fairly young. Still got a couple more years of these guys actually becoming players here. So definitely keep that in mind. There you go. All right. Let's get to it. Baseball summer. So all summer, baseball gets to keep us company here. And let's go. Put me in cold. I'm ready to play this game. Put me in cold. Let's talk a little minor league baseball with the Baltimore Orioles AA affiliate, Bowie Bay Sox. All right. So definitely check it out here. We're going to go ahead and talk a little minor league baseball here as well. 2024 Baseball Summer Series. This also is going to go, like a football series, going to go all the way till Labor Day. So we're going to talk about minor league teams this week. We're going to talk a little bit about the Bay Sox as well. Roberto Machado is going to be the manager right now. This is their record as of tonight as I'm recording this, 26-25. Brian Shellcross definitely, matter of fact, I just sent a message to him. See if we can get some information about the Bay Sox. Send a couple messages to him as well to go ahead and check out the Bay Sox as well. Now, these are some notable names. These aren't their best players, but these are some notable names for them. Seth Johnson, not so great so far this year, but he was a valuable piece in the trade a couple years ago. Lots of potential there that he has as well. Still may be able to get to the majors, but 25, struggling a little bit here with the Bay Sox as well. Max Wagner, second round pick on 2022. Max Wagner, I think the sky's the limit. I think he's got a lot of potential. They're fighting injuries a little bit this year. I think he's back now. I think that's correct. But Max, I think the power is definitely there. He's got to bring his average up a little bit to be a best performer. And Frederick, he almost made the list as the top performers, but Frederick Benzcome is there as well. Hits a lot of home runs. Got to get his average up a little bit. But definitely, look, this is a guy part of Mike Elias's, I keep saying it, Mike Elias's international prospect list. So definitely he's a guy that maybe want to keep your eye on. Now, let's take a look at this. I think this is probably right now, you could argue, if it's not Jackson Holiday, this could be the best prospect in the Orioles system, Samuel Balalo, as well. Once you get this last thing right, he's terrific. I love his bat speed, DHing a lot, catching first base a lot. I don't know what the position is going to be. They have been moving him a lot. I don't think in this case with Adley there, you're going to move him to the majors, and I think it's probably another year and a half away at least, that he's going to catch in the major leagues. So I think they've been trying him out at different spots. Interesting to see how that goes. 7 home runs, 24 RBIs. These stats are like as of last week, 287 average. So I definitely think he's performing well at Bowie. Really young. Still got a ways to go. No reason to rush him, I think. But his bat speed is tremendous. Here's a guy I think is a center fielder in waiting. You see the struggles. We're gonna get the struggles of Mullins, but Dylan Beavers I think is fantastic. Legs player, 22 years old, 7 home runs. The power bat is coming up a bit more this year, so that's a good sign. Hitting 272, really good. Another guy I think. Here's a guy finally not slept on, but Jed Fabian's been good at every level he's been at. I've been talking about Jed Fabian and seeing him the last couple of years. 23 years old, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. Look at that average. I mean, 348. Jed Fabian's talked about him at Aberdeen, he's been good. So he's one of these guys, maybe not as highly thought of right away, but he's kind of earned his way, kind of like Westberg, kind of like the Westberg route. Oh, hey, well, yeah, you keep doing well. T.T. Bowens, he was there last year, so he's been there. This is his second year in Bowie. 26 years old, 6 home runs, hitting 290 as well. So definitely earning a promotion, hopefully soon. I'm sure he's ready for a promotion now, spending a second year in Bowie. Colin Burns, 2 home runs, 22 RBIs, definitely kind of moving around in the outfield a lot. Great defender. Like his defense. I think defensively, I think he is really good. Relief pitchers that the Orioles are looking at. Nick Richmond, definitely a guy, he can get up to 97, but he's a 4-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, changeup. Definitely he hits around 92, 95-ish. Definitely, I think coming around, I think as a reliever as well. Daniel Hyde, I think that's right. I think that's how you say it. Daniel Hyde, I think he's really a good reliever for them as well. So again, Orioles pitching prospects. What do we have here? Relievers. Doesn't throw a ball super hard. Had a great year at Aberdeen. Had to go, again, 2 years at Aberdeen. About 93, 94. But he strikes out like 48% of his hitters last year, like 40 this year. So he was really good for them as well. And Tracy Bright. Now, here's the starter. Not a lot of wins, but 360 average, 52 strikeouts as well. Fastball, not terrific. Really, really good change. So that's what he can do as well. So interesting to see now if the Orioles can get prospects. Now, the pitching, I think, is so fascinating because you definitely have hitting products. Velasquez is definitely going to the majors. Dylan Beavers is definitely going to the majors. I think Jed Fabian, I think whether it's the Orioles or it's trade bait, definitely those guys for sure are. But can you now in the post Grayson Rodriguez era, in the post DL Hall, Grayson now is established major league starter. DL Hall is now to trade on a different team. Now what do you get as far as pitching prospects? Not a lot of major league quality stuff here in Double-A. Bit of a concern. However, maybe you get some guys to help you in the bullpen going forward. There you go. I'm ready to play. Had to play the song. There you go. Remove the slide there. All right. Thank you for that. So definitely check that out. To check out a Bay Sox game and all these teams. Definitely. Look, if you like baseball as well, if you live in next week, we're going to talk about the Ripken family's Aberdeen Ironbirds next week. But definitely check it out. Definitely, if you are a fan of baseball, like me, I grew up in Baltimore, living in a small town. Definitely check out minor league baseball, man. You'll enjoy the experience. It'll definitely be less on your wallet too. like to go ahead and do that. I was actually checking out a minor league game on Saturday, after my notary appointment. So definitely check that out as well. Now let's go to the orange report. All right. So the Orioles report definitely this week. A lot happened. That's going on. So Orioles, three straight wins against the Tampa Bay Rays. I keep wanting to say Devil Rays, but Devil Rays is not the right answer there. So definitely. So it looks like they did lose tonight, 3-2 over the Blue Jays. Blue Jays were actually winning. Even with that, the Orioles, so sweep at Tampa and losing the night against the Blue Jays. So even with that, they won 2 out of 3. With that, I thought the Orioles played very well. I think this was definitely a bit pivotal, right? Not so great. Lost their first series a couple weeks ago with had their first sweep against St. Louis. Last week, look, beat two teams like with the White Sox and the Red Sox, kind of not in a great place as well. But now you had two teams, division solid, very solid in the division. Orioles definitely been very dominant in the division. Who's hot? Let's get Santander on the hot list. Hit a home run again tonight. He's been hitting the long ball. I mean, definitely batting average isn't what we hope for, but he's definitely hitting the long ball. He's not right, though. His knee looks. I'm surprised that's not mentioned more. He's not right. He's kind of not doing. I think, honestly, I think if they had like a full-time DH spot open, they might consider doing that. Doesn't look as good in the outfield. I think he's not right, but he's still hitting the long ball. That's for sure. Austin Hayes getting 2 home runs, much better this week from Austin Hayes. Interesting to see what happens with him as far as he's in a dogfight. I mean, he's definitely like that as far as playing time. Can he get more playing time with his spot back? With some of the other outfielders struggling, but good to have outfielders here. Absolutely on the hot list. Jacob Webb, let's give him some love. I think this is the guy I think the manager has the most confidence in. Outside of Craig Kimbrell, your closer, I think he's got a lot of confidence in Jacob Webb. So absolutely, I'm gonna go ahead and let's go ahead and shout him out. Definitely been pitching well. No runs last couple weeks here for Jacob Webb. Cole Hauser, average batting now, last I saw was like 230 something now. So really in a bit of a funk. Not quite yet. Not ready to do anything quite yet. Still in the rookie conversation, but just in a bit of a funk. A terrible week for Cedric. Cedric, I thought, was starting to maybe turn things around. Then he had that not hitting as well again. Hitting kind of hit well again. And we'll get to the issue with Mateo that he caused. I think he's playing less. Let's hope. Let's go out good juju for Cedric out there going ahead. Kyle Bradish, not a great start. Not overly concerned about it. I think like sometimes pitchers have great start, but yeah, definitely he was not good in his last start. So definitely you gotta mention that as well. Cedric Mullins was set to lead off the bottom of the 4th. Jorge Mateo was due up and hit him in a stroke of awful luck. As the writer wrote there. Mateo struck him in the head with the back of a helmet. So just saw it. Weird. On the on-deck circle, he's just warming up, swinging the bat, and he hits Mateo right in the head. Very scary. You wonder why that doesn't happen more with baseball bats as much as I even played. So interesting to see why with that as well. Orioles are calling up as in a move, in a consequential move. Connor Norby is coming up to the major leagues. Jorge Mateo is in concussion rose ball and now is on the 7-day DL. No surprise. Connor Norby gets the nod over Jackson Holiday. I'm fine with that. I think he deserves it. I think Connor Norby's been really good. So it's good to see him get an opportunity. And he got his first major league hit and homer at the end of the game on Tuesday night. good for him. Good for Connor Norby as well. I don't think he's going to stay up. I think that's another reason why they call him. I think he's going to go back to Norfolk. But definitely Connor goes ahead and gets in. Cade Povich is going now to the Major League roster. Definitely number 9 according to MLB Pipeline. He joined Toronto on the taxi squad on Wednesday night. A little bit better than McDermott. I was kind of even wondering why it was him over McDermott. I had a subscriber make great point. It's like, hey man, he was a little bit better. Ward, all the numbers were better, and then hey, I'm fine with that. I think for sure he's going to start. I mean, I don't think there's any reason. Haven't made the corresponding move yet, but that's happening. You don't waste time doing that and have him there. All right, had to charge that battery there. We're recording here for a minute. Okay, back to business. Cade Povich, number 9 prospect for the around the Toronto taxi squad. So I think I mentioned that already. He's definitely going, I think, to the major league. No reason to do this unless you're going to put him in a rotation. Haven't made the corresponding move yet, but definitely he's going to be pitching for the Orioles. Julio Teheran, minor league deal as well. I actually didn't think it was bad spring training. So he was with the Cubs when the head Cubs when they released him, signed back with the Orioles. I'm fine with it. I don't think he was that bad in the spring. I think I've always kind of liked him too. I thought like all years in Atlanta he was good. I think he's potential really wasn't underutilized. Not a star by any means, and but I think he's been fantastic as well. Other move this week. What are we doing? Going against Tampa again. Going to be in Tampa this time. So definitely maybe a little bit different here. Actually playing on the road, playing a team so close together as well. And Atlanta Braves, team I think I watched the most growing up, besides the Orioles, Atlanta Braves, with that now terrible season-ending injury, the National League MVP Ronald Acuna. So we'll see how that affects the Braves' trajectory as well. He was just getting going, and my boy Mountie. Ryan Mountcastle. I think Mountcastle. I think Rogers Center is the route that Mountcastle built. So underrated. Him definitely hits ball a ton. I love the fact too that Mountie is developing as a hitter right before our eyes the last couple years. I've noticed ever since he came back from the injury, a lot of what he worked on is definitely coming out to fruition. Mountie used to swing at a lot of bad balls, a lot of just garbage, struck out a lot. It happens sometimes now, but now he's much more disciplined at the plate, better at first base, and he was terrific this week. 2 home runs in one game this week as well. He was fantastic all week. So Mountie goes ahead and gets the player of the week. All right. Thank you very much for watching the Ravery Sports Podcast for fans like me. Definitely tell all your friends, like and subscribe. Visit our website, raverysports.company.site. Playing the charge on the way out the door. Thank you for joining us. You have a great rest of your day.